So let's talk about prompt engineering and the basics that you have to know in order for you to get a good output from your AI assistants and your custom chat GPTs. So let's get into it. So what is prompt engineering? Well, prompt engineering basically means giving specific instructions to an AI model like ChatGPT or OpenAI assistants, voice assistants, and in general, any AI that you want to use. So the instructions that you give is the prompt, and the prompt and the quality of the prompt will determine the output that you get from the AI that you're using. That's why it's very, very important to know how to write efficient prompts. Just like when you ask a bad question, you get a bad answer. This is the same, and this follows the same principle. If you ask ChatGPT bad questions, you'll get bad responses. But by engineering good instructions, that is good prompts, we get high quality responses from the AIs that we're using instead. So this is how we do it. All right, so the basic rule of a good prompt is giving the AI clear instructions and a context to move within or to act within. Now, of course, depending on the use case, whether we're building a voice agent or a custom GPT that will answer only in text, or maybe a chatbot or an SMS text agent, these prompts will have to look a little bit different. But in general, they still follow the same structure and framework. So this is the framework that we're using. First off, we have to give it a role, and this is the role and identity. We'll get a little bit deeper into this as I'll show you an example of exactly how this looks in context. The next part of the prompt is the context, and this is the background and information that the AI assistant need to have about the company it's working for or the circumstances it's in, depending on the use case. The third part of our prompt is tasks and responsibilities. This is what you expect the AI to do in this context and framework. Remember, it's very, very important to keep everything within one context and one framework. Then it comes to personality and style. So this is the tone of voice you want it to speak in, if it should be casual, if it should be funny, witty, or very professional and strict, for example. This all comes down to personality and style. So this is the approach and the communication that it will have with the user. Next, we come to guidelines. This is the guideline it has to follow in the interactions with users. So this, of course, is very, very important. And again, we'll dive a little bit deeper into this when we see the actual example of it. The last part here is the expected output. Of course, very, very important to tell the AI assistant what you expect the output to be. Now, we have to look at the first and last rule. This is very, very important. So remember that the AI will read through the prompt that you give it and act on the instructions that it has. By the way, the hashtags you see here, this is a simple text markdown, and it also helps the AI to clarify what's what. So we'll use that in the prompt as well. Now, the first and last rule, it basically states that whatever comes first in your prompt and last is what the AI will give more importance or weight to. So whatever is in the middle, it will not give as much importance. And actually, when asking AI itself about this, this is the answer it gave. So here's what ChatGPT said about the first and last rule when asked about it. Information at the beginning and the end of a prompt tends to have more influence because primacy. What comes first is remembered the best. And recency. What comes last is freshest in memory. Placing the most critical instructions at these positions ensures that they are prioritized by the AI. So there you have it. First and last rule is very, very important to remember, especially when it comes to long prompts. Another thing that we need to look at is zero shot, one shot, and few shots prompting. Basically what it means, zero shot prompting is what most people use when they write a question to ChatGPT, for example. This is a prompt without any examples. It's just a simple prompt, and it might just be a question. It could also be act as a specific professional and answer this question. That's a zero-shot prompt. You don't give AI any examples. Then when it comes to one-shot prompting, it basically means that you give the AI one example of how you expect it to handle a certain task or question when asked. And this will give the AI an idea of how to handle similar tasks and questions. So basically you could compare this to giving a student one math problem to solve just to have a better chance of solving similar math problems at a test. Now when it comes to few shot prompting, on the other hand, that's given AI between 2 to 5 examples usually, so that it can understand a certain pattern that you want it to follow. And this comes very handy, especially when it comes to voice AI agents and conversational flows. So using one-shot prompting and few-shot promptings basically is giving the AI some examples to work from so that it better understands the output that you expect from it. Last but not least, when it comes to the basics that you have to know about prompt engineering, it is iteration. So once you've written your prompt and you're happy with it, try it out, ask a relevant question, or give the custom GPT or the AI assistant that you build the task to work on and see what response you get. After asking that first question and seeing what answers you get, then you could ask the AI assistant or custom GPT that you have built to rewrite the prompt and ask it to make it more clear and precise. Look at this as asking a student or an employee or a coworker that you're training, asking you to clarify the instructions that you have given them so that you together can iterate and make those instructions more clear and more precise so that you'll get the output that you're looking for. All right, so now that we've gone through the basics of prompt engineering, let's look at an example here. So here we have an example of a custom GPT called the Florida Property Tax Advisor. And again, you can see I have not put GPT in this name as to OpenAI's instructions not to do so. So here we start with the role, and it just basically says you are a very experienced professional in the field of property tax rules in Florida, United States. So it's very important to make the role so that the assistant, if it's going to be professional, you will have to tell it it's very experienced or it's an expert in its field or something like that. Really boost it to give it that instruction that you're expecting an expert answer to your questions or the tasks that you give it. The context here is that you're working for a company advising real estate agents in Florida on real estate taxes. You'll also help real estate agents understand property tax rules in Florida. You simplify and summarize these rules into an understandable format. That is the context. Next, we have the tasks and responsibilities. So this is help real estate agents in Florida understand property tax rules. Summarize property tax laws into short and understandable paragraph, 1 to 5 sentences. It's also very important that we are specific in our prompting. If I wouldn't have this 1 to 5 sentences, it might end up giving a very long answer. So you have to be very specific. The more specific you can get, the better. Just as when you would instruct a student or an employee to handle a certain task, or maybe your VA, for example. All right, next we have focus on key information relevant to real estate professionals. Again, to keep this relevant, use your knowledge and the internet to provide accurate and clear information, and then ask the user what they need to know and ensure their question and use case are fully understood by repeating the task or question to the user in 1 to 2 questions. All right, next we have personality and style. So this is professional, concise, and user-friendly. It also says focus on the facts and provide actionable insights. Third, it says use clear language that a 7th grader could easily understand, just to be more specific in this prompt. Now we have the guidelines. So here it says always begin the conversation by instructing the user to validate your information with a tax attorney for their specific situation, because obviously we can't ensure that this is correct information. They have to check it and do their due diligence themselves. So what it is a disclaimer basically, right? Okay, next we want to confirm the user's question by summarizing it in 1 to 2 sentences before responding. That's basically what we had up here too, repeating that. And then we say if the question is unclear, ask for clarification, stay on topic and steer the conversation back if the user goes off course. Very important too. So asking the AI to stay on topic always. Here we say, if unable to find an answer, state clearly, I failed to find the information you're looking for, and ask if there is something else to assist with. This one is super, super important. You have to understand that AI cannot understand no very good. So you can't tell it, don't do this, or even if you don't, or do not. None of that really works. It's like me asking you not to think of the color red. What did you just do? You probably thought of the color red, right? So our brains work pretty much the same. We can't hear the word no very good. Don't think of the color blue again. What did you see? Unless you're colorblind, then you might have mixed them up. I digress. But so it's very, very important to use language that is not negative, so to speak, which is why we say, if unable to find an answer, state clearly, I fail. There's no not, don't, none of that kind going on in this sentence, right? That is very, very important when it comes to prompting AI as well. Okay, and then we have the one-shot example here. So that's before answering, verify the question, and then the example is if the user says, can you tell me about Florida's homestead exemption? The AI will respond this. And then we have an example of clear tailored responses, another example of when unable to answer. Now you might be asking, but you said one-shot prompting should just be one example. It is. If you look at it, this is one example of this specific question. This is an example of tailored responses. This is an example of when not being able to answer. So in this case, the user says, what are the property tax rules for non-US citizens? Then the AI should answer, I couldn't find specific information on this. It's best to consult a tax attorney familiar with non-US citizen property ownership in Florida. Anything else I can assist with? So it is showing the AI how to act in that circumstance when it can't answer or find the answer to a specific question. Last, not least, very important is the expected output. So here we say provide truthful, relevant, and accurate answers based by facts. Very, very important. The AI is able to lie, and it does lie a lot. If it don't come up the answer you're looking for or the information, it might just make it up. So we don't want that, but we can't tell it not to do that again. So we instead say provide truthful, relevant, and accurate answers, and to be specific, based by fact. Okay? Very important. Then last, it's deliver concise and understandable information tailored to the user's needs. If necessary, provide the references for users to verify your information, and ensure every response is clear and actionable, focusing on solving the user's problem efficiently. So here we go, and you can see this also follow the first to last rule. And with the expected output, we basically last tells what's important when it comes to the output that we're looking for. And we're also trying to keep the prompt short and concise and not too long. All right, so that is basically it. Of course, there's much more to it when it comes to instructing AI on the output that we're looking for. We're talking about things like temperature, for example, and other settings within our AI assistants. But that is a subject for another video. Now you should know the basics of prompt engineering. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want this resource, also let me know, and I'll send you an invite to our community where you can find all these resources. All right, next, go and check this video out. Peace.